All right, let's talk about charisma. For a long time, we've thought of it as some kind of magic, right? Something you're either born with or you're not. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and show you that it's not magic at all. It's a pattern, a learnable skill that you can use to connect with literally any audience. So let's dive in. You ever have that feeling? You're up there, you're giving a presentation, you've practiced, you know your stuff, but you look out at the audience and you can just tell it's not landing. You're speaking, but they're not really with you. It's an awful feeling, and believe me, there's a very real reason why it happens. And here's the thing. It's probably not your content, it's your delivery. You're likely speaking in your preferred style, your natural rhythm. The problem is that style might only work for about a third of the people in the room, which means you're accidentally tuning out everyone else. It all boils down to building rapport. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Before anyone can truly absorb your brilliant ideas, they have to feel that connection with you. They have to feel like you get them. So the real question is, how do you build that feeling, that energetic connection with a whole room of different people at once? Well, that brings us to the first big idea we really need to tear down, and that's the whole myth surrounding charisma itself. We see these amazing speakers, and we just assume, wow, they're a natural. But here's the secret. That's just not true. Nobody is born a natural speaker. Charisma is a skill. It's a technique, a pattern that the greatest speakers on the planet have learned to use, sometimes without even knowing they're doing it. And today, we are going to break that pattern down piece by piece. Okay, so to understand the pattern, we first have to understand the audience. And for this, we're going to lean on some ideas from neurolinguistic programming. You might know it as NLP. It's basically the study of how our minds work. And NLP shows us that people tend to process the world in three main ways, each with its own vibe, its own speed. So take a look at this. You've got your visual people. They're fast. They think in pictures and big ideas. I mean, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Then you've got auditory people. Kind of in the middle, they process things at the speed of conversation. And finally, you have kinesthetic people. They're slower, more deliberate, because they process the world through feeling and experience. So here it is. This is the whole ballgame. If you only speak at your one preferred speed, you are automatically from the get-go leaving 2/3 of your audience behind. Think about that. 2 out of every 3 people just aren't with you. Just picture it. Let's say you're a super high-energy, fast-talking speaker, what you might call nuclear visual. You're all about big concepts, painting these grand pictures. Well, you've got the other visual people in the room hooked. But the auditory and kinesthetic folks, they checked out 5 minutes ago. You're just moving way too fast. I learned this lesson the hard way. I got feedback early in my career, and they told me, look, even if you slowed down by 50%, you would still be too fast for most people. It was a huge wake-up call. I was totally burning out my audience and had no idea, just because I hadn't learned to meet them where they were. So how do we fix it? How do we actually speak to everybody in the room at the same time? Well, the answer is a really simple but incredibly powerful sequence. Honestly, this is the key that unlocks the entire room. Let's break it down. You start slow, really slow. You're in that kinesthetic energy. Think of it like rolling out a welcome mat. You're making people feel comfortable, safe, connected. Then you gently pick up the pace and bring them with you into a normal conversational auditory speed. And only then, once everyone's on board, do you kick it up into that high-energy visual gear to really inspire them. Now, here's the thing I got wrong when I first learned this. I thought I had to sprinkle in feeling words or seeing words, but that's not it at all. The real secret isn't the vocabulary. It's about mastering the energy. It's a classic influence principle. First, you match their reality. You pace them. And then you can lead them somewhere new. And by the way, this isn't some trick you just do in your intro and then forget about. No. The best speakers, they use this pattern like a wave, riding it up and down throughout their entire talk to keep everyone, and I mean everyone, engaged. So think of it like a rhythm. You ride that wave up from kinesthetic to auditory to visual, but here's the key. You don't stay at that super high energy peak. That's exhausting. Instead, you pull back a little and you settle into what we call a high auditory sweet spot. This sweet spot is your home base. It's the perfect cruising altitude. It's fast enough to keep the visuals interested. It's the natural pace for the auditory folks. And because you started slow and built that rapport, the kinesthetic people can hang right there with you. You'll spend most of your time right here, just dipping down or peeking up when you need to. So, how do you practice this? It's actually really simple. Get a timer. For 1 minute, just talk, but do it with that slow, warm, kinesthetic energy. Then for the next minute, ramp it up to a normal, conversational, auditory pace. And for the last minute, go all out, high energy, passionate visual mode. Then, and this is crucial, at the end, close your eyes and just imagine the crowd going wild, a standing ovation. You want to connect this pattern in your brain with the feeling of a huge win. Look, this pattern is so much more than a public speaking hack. It's a genuine tool for connection, for influence. It's how you get an entire group of very different people on the very same page and inspire them to act. So the only question left is, now that you have it, what are you going to use it for?